This is my first ink conference, and I am overwhelmed by the warmth of everyone, by the range of speakers that you have here. It's inspiring. I also have the dubious privilege of probably being the oldest speaker here. And just to put that into perspective, first of all, I want to tell you that when I saw the title, I read it as Future Reverse, but everyone's calling And since I'm a technophobe, I thought I was the reverse. So I'm going to show you the other side of this. And also to put it into another perspective, my life spans a period where I can remember as a child, my mother's aunt came to visit us in a horse and carriage. I have also been on the Concorde. Look at the range of technological development in that time. And also, I can remember when a computer was the size of a room. Now you have it in your pocket or on a watch. So keep that in mind while I'm talking, because today we live in a divided world, a world that is where we have fragmented knowledge into its components. Yes, it gives for specialization, but it also means that you could be in a space where you can't put it all together. And that's a bit like this. You probably know the story of the blind man and the elephant, where all these men were shown the animal and they were allowed to feel across him as much as they could. And then when they were asked to describe the elephant, they described an ear or a trunk or a leg, but nobody realized what this animal actually was. As you've just heard, I love paper. And it was in 1992 at the Rio Conference for the environment when I realized that I didn't really know what paper was made of. We kept talking about all the trees that were being cut down to make paper. But what was it made of? What was its history? So the next few years of my life was spent discovering this. And it was a wonderful journey, because from how it was made, where it was made, and learning to make it myself, I had the best time. And then, a few years later, we were in America, and we were asked to visit a facility that had a cyclotron. Now, I can only spell cyclotron, so this meant absolutely nothing to me. So we went around the facility. There was this huge room with this huge machine that did amazing things, but I didn't understand them. Right around that, there were smaller rooms. And we were taken to one of them, and somebody said, "So what is this room used for?" And the answer was for an experiment in paper making. Now, this was a word I understood, so my ears pricked up. And I asked, so what are they going to do? There was a Finnish company that had rented the room to develop a new process of breaking down the fibers to make paper. I didn't say anything at that moment because I didn't want to embarrass him. But when everybody else had left the room, I went to him and I said, "Did you know that in the 16th century, when they made paper, they put the pulp into clay pots, filled it with sajji and khar, which is soda ash and lime in English, buried for every day of the waxing moon, they buried these clay pots in the ground. By the time it was full moon, the first pot was ready. No energy, no 21st century technology was necessary to break down the fibers." He looked at me in horror, because he probably saw his thousands of dollars of funding going out of the window and pushed me out of the room. Another quick thought to keep in mind is that when the Americans were spending millions of dollars to develop a pen that wrote in zero gravity, the Russians used a pencil. So by not teaching history to scientists, are we losing out? Are we like on a hamster wheel that keeps going round and we don't know where it's going? As I said before, I come from a world of paper, but my biggest love is storytelling. Because as children, we've always had stories told to us. And it was only as an adult that I came to realize that these stories form the framework of what I am. They form the foundation of the moral, the ethical sense that makes me who I am. And the stories that I loved best were the stories from the Panchatantra. Most of you probably know, I hope you know what they are, but these were stories that were oral tradition for the longest time, and in the 2nd century BC, they were written down. These were stories told to the 3 sons of a king who felt that they was foolish and they needed to be taught the wisdom of life before they went on to rule the kingdom. So he sent them with a wise man into the forest, and using animals as protagonists, they were taught the wisdom of life. And I'm going to tell you one of them. Once upon a time, in a village, outside the village, there was a big tree. And in the tree, there was a big black crow. He watched in splendor as all these birds came to get the fruit from the tree. Crowds of them came chattering around to see what was going on. And then one day, a hunter came and scattered a lot of seeds on the ground. It was very suspicious. And when the birds came back, he said to them, "Don't touch the seeds." But the birds didn't listen. And they swooped down. They thought this was Christmas come early. And they swooped down on these seeds. And a hunter appeared from behind them, threw a huge net over the birds, and they were trapped. And they all flapped their wings. They all tried to, but they could not move. Until the crow had an idea. He said, "I'm going to count 1, 2, and 3. And when I say 3, all of you flap your wings, and let's see what happens." So when he counted 3, all the birds flapped their wings, and they flew away. And the hunter watched in horror as not only his birds, but also his net flew away. Why am I telling you this story? Because we live in a world today with a lot of problems, and we all say that the government should solve it, these companies should solve it, but we are in this together. Look at climate change. We have, each one of us, got a responsibility to do something about it, and I think it's only when we all do it together that hopefully we'll make some change. When the flow of immigrants came into Europe, the first things that worried everyone was they're different from me. There's us and there's them. And again, I thought that can't be possible. There's got to be something we share. And so I was looking to see what stories we share. And the ones that interested me the most were the ones of the flood. If you look, all the different cultures, they all have the story of a flood. From the Bible to the Epic of Gilgamesh to Manu and the fish as the first avatar of Vishnu. And they all say more or less the same thing, that through his hubris, man got too arrogant, the gods were angry, and they sent the floods to cleanse the land, and land became water. Look at what we're doing today. We're building on the floodplains, we're building on the marshes, the water has nowhere to go. Are we going to watch those waters rise again? I have to end with a story that I think is wonderful. When I'm at my desk, I've got scraps of paper around me, and when I leave, the paper is there, the scraps are on the table. So one day when I came back, I found a fantastic collage of a Ganesh on my table. Who made that? Where did it come from? One of the security guards in the evening shift had got bored, and he'd made this. So I was going to take it home and take it back with me to Zurich, where I live. The housekeeper came in with all the vegetables and food that I inevitably take back with me, and she said, "What is this?" So I told her the story, and I could see from her face that she wanted it. So I said, "Do you want it?" And she said, "Yes." I gave it to her, and I went away. When I came back, I asked her, "What did you do with it, Vidya?" She had taken it and put it outside the servants' bathroom, and every time they came out after they'd had their bath, they would say a prayer in front of it. Look at that, from scraps of paper to something sacred. So to go back to the beginning, this is what it's all about. Everything is one. It's not science versus history. It's not the environment or art or mathematics and economics. These are words that we have chosen. They're random words. They're all part of a whole. We need to put it all back together again so that you understand the bigger meaning of everything. Thank you.